to the cloud. I'm going to start Facebook. All righty. Brittany, everything is on you. So we'll turn it over to our gracious host, Brittany Pina, who is our quality improvement manager.
Thank you and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us with Cincinnati Preschool Promise Chat. I am Brittany Pina, the Quality Improvement Manager here with Cincinnati Preschool Promise, filling in for your normal host, Florence Malone, also known as Miss Flo. Today's topic is moving on up. Is your child ready for kindergarten? We have some professionals here from Cincinnati Preschool, from Cincinnati Public Schools here to fill any of the questions that we may have regarding kindergarten readiness. I will let the panelists introduce themselves, and then we'll just jump right into the questions that were pre-submitted. For those of you who are tuning in, if you have any follow-up questions or any additional inquiries that you may have, please submit them in the Q&A and or the chat below, and we will do our best to get a response out to you. Again, thank you for joining Cincinnati Preschool Promise Chat, and welcome panelists. Let's start with Vera. Please introduce yourself and let us know your role with Cincinnati Public Schools.
Well, thank you, Brittany, and it's an honor to be here with our partners with Cincinnati Preschool Promise this evening. I am Vera Brooks. I am currently serving as the Director of Early Childhood within Cincinnati Public Schools, but I have served as a principal in a preschool through grade 8 building within our district. Thank you for having us this evening.
Thanks for being here. Next, we have Kimberly.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Traylor Lowe. I am one of our early childhood lead teachers in our district this year, and I am an experienced kindergarten teacher, years of experience teaching, and I'm happy to answer any questions, and thank you for having us.
Thanks for being here, Kimberly. And we also have Glenn.
Hi, thanks again for having us. Just like Kimberly and Vera said, my name is Glenn Calhoun. I am the other lead teacher for Cincinnati Public Schools Early Childhood. And most recently, I've been a preschool teacher for the district for about 8 years prior to this.
All right, so we have a panelist of a variety of experience, especially in the early childhood realm. Thank you again for being here with us this evening. Let's dive right in. The burning question. How do I know my child is ready for kindergarten?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, we all kind of waited. We're like, oh, let's see here. I just think the overarching thing, is when the child is just ready to learn. When your child will sit and listen when you're reading a story, when they'll ask questions, when they're really curious about things that are going on around them. Like those are just kind of the basic, that inquisitive nature that we love in kids.
I think your child is ready for kindergarten when they are able to express themselves, that they are able to have the conversations of this basic knowledge. I know as when I was an administrator, the most wonderful thing, and I knew a child was ready for kindergarten when they would come in excited about learning. And that was usually with children that had been serviced by Preschool Promise or a preschool. When a child is able to say their name and who is in their family, the basics of being able to hold their scissors correctly, those types of things that I think we overlook are really the areas that providers and also families can help a child prepare for kindergarten, and just that love for learning, of exploring and knowing that there's more out there, and they just like sponges, teach me. When you reach that where a child is questioning, I know as a parent, when you hear the why for the 20th time, you're kind of like, but that word is a beautiful word, because that means that child is experiencing and curious about the world around them.
Well said. That's exactly what I was going to say.
I'm sorry.
When children have that exploration stage and they're just ready to learn whatever you got to give them. Kids should be able to identify their names, maybe some letters, being able to express themselves using crayons to color and tell you about their pictures, getting that knowledge and that engaging conversation. If your child's doing all those type of things, they are absolutely ready.
And I think another area that I don't want us to miss is that a child understands what it means to share. A child understands that it's okay to be angry as long as you work through that anger and solve situations with adult guidance. Those are very important things. When a child's going from a preschool into a large school building, I mean, there's a lot of scary things on the first couple of weeks. First of all, you're going into this huge cafeteria and you have to go through a line to get your lunch and pick things. And so teaching your child how to make those choices and realize that, okay, you might have the choice of an orange or an apple for lunch, that you can't be angry if there's not it's not grapes, that they have to learn how to make those choices within the choices that are made available.
Well, thank you. It sounds like ensuring that your child has some social emotional skills, they're able to self-regulate, they have language skills to articulate their needs and identify who they are. And if they come with some basic academic things such as letter recognition and coloring, sounds like they're on the right path of being ready to kindergarten. So the next question, is there an age for a cutoff in terms of enrolling into kindergarten? And if so, what is that age?
A child must be 5 by September 30th. So that is the transition age for kindergarten. If a child is a child with a special needs, then of course, then that would be working with the who's servicing the child now in preschool with the team at the school level to determine through their IEP or their ETR what will be the best path for that child.
Great. So it sounds like we will address special needs and gifted skills as well. So that is always awesome to be inclusive.
Yes, it is.
To follow up a little bit in terms of self-regulation and things of that nature, how are challenging behaviors handled?
Kimberly, do you want to address that?
Sure. So, whenever they enter their kindergarten classroom, the teacher is going to start out with expectations and, get the child to understand the expectations in their classroom, talk about rules and why rules are safe and how they keep us safe. And so that becomes a teachable moment. And the child will learn all of those developmentally appropriate things that they should do while they're at school. And they'll teach them some things that they should do at home too. Um, from a behavior standpoint, as far as not following the rules or how I should follow the rules, some teachers use timeout to try to teach that skill or whatever that rule might be. Um, and it will take some time. It just takes time and that exposure, and talking to kids about why we're making them do certain things. Like for instance, if kids are exposed to the playground, which they will be, they go to the playground, and I tell you the number one thing is they want to get on that slide and they want to go down the slide backwards or crawling up the slide. And so we try to explain to them, that's not safe. It's just not safe. So then what do you do if they keep doing it? So you have to practice, this is how you go down the slideway safely. And I'm going to tell you the reasons why you don't want to go down that slide when it's unsafe and why you might get hurt. So the teacher has to really develop that skill of the behavior management piece. And it takes more than one person. It can't just be the teacher. I always used to tell my parents, this is a partnership. You go through the list of rules and I'm going to go through the list of rules, and mom and dad and the school and the teacher, we all work together.
And I do want to mention in Cincinnati Public Schools, to support the teacher, the child, and families, all of our buildings have a school social worker, psychologist, a team of individuals that if a child is struggling with challenging behaviors or with some emotional situations or trauma, there's a team that is there to work collaboratively with the kindergarten teacher and the family to put what we call intervention assistance in place to try different strategies to help that child learn appropriate behaviors for a school setting.
Great. So some in-classroom and out-of-classroom supports with that behavior management piece. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That leads right into my next question, sort of, in terms of, is there a policy around bullying, an anti-bullying policy? If so, what is that policy?
Yes, we do have a district-wide anti-bullying policy. So feel free to go to our website. You can look up the policy and it's there. But all of our schools have what we call PBIS plans, positive behavior incentive systems, or it's PBIS plans. But that is where the entire school community has come together. And they have come up with processes, procedures. They've come up with ways of teaching children and modeling for children how to communicate, how to relate, how to show your emotions appropriately, respect, just a variety of avenues. Bullying is not tolerated. Our teachers are highly trained in that area to identify. So a lot of our sites have actually come up with creative ways to make sure it's very inclusive, such as there's a lot of schools have put like benches throughout the building that if someone is sitting there because they don't have anyone to play with, then people know that other children have learned to go over and then have that child join them. So a lot of collaboration and a lot of warmth. Our community, all of our schools are community learning centers. So therefore we have resource coordinators and other partners that actually work with teachers and the students on building community, building family, and how to support and help each other to have a positive relationships.
And I think just piggybacking on that, on what Vera just said, we really are understanding so much more now how important relationships are to learning. When kids have, the word we use is agency, when they know that their voice is heard and their voice matters, and they've built this I've seen some classrooms, just these great relationships that are being built, even in the crazy times we're in now where they have to keep apart. Teachers are so innovative with finding ways, not just to strengthen the teacher-student relationship, but also the peer-to-peer relationship, which is so challenging right now. So that really is a big focus of the district, is the importance of relationships.
Yes, I'm glad that you mentioned relationships and supporting with families as well. It takes a village to raise a child, so to speak, is what I heard.
Yeah.
Is there still, or does your organization, your school district, have some type of parent association where parents can get together with other professionals within the district to talk about various things that are going on with whether it's the school community or within a specific student's classroom? We're used to hearing it being called PTAs. Is that still something that exists within your school district?
Well, I'm going to start at a higher level, and then I'm going to let Glenn and Kimberly talk about what's created within the classrooms at the elementary level.
Okay.
All of our schools have local school decision-making committees, which are made up of parents, community members, and staff. We also have different sites have different groups for schools. For instance, I know NOM has a father's group. We have other schools that have mothers groups or grandparents groups or just family groups. So each individual site has their own type of organization for families to be very, very engaged. That is a focus of our district, of parent engagement. And I don't want to just say parent engagement, I want to say family engagement, community engagement, because it does take all of us working together and collaborating together to make sure our children, especially school age, going all the way through 12th grade, receive the highest quality services we can definitely provide. Kimberly and Glenn, can you speak a little bit of your experiences of those relationships between preschool, kindergarten, and first grade?
Sure.
Go ahead, Glenn.
In the building level, there's each building, like Vera said, has sort of different parent groups. But the good thing is, if there's not a group in the building that you're going to that's very active, you can start one. Sit down with the principal. They love parent engagement and family engagement. Between the principal and the school resource coordinator, they love to have parents that are involved. And it may start off with a once a month parent coffee. That's how it started at my last building. So just start small and then it grows. And if you figure you're going to be at a building, if your child starts in kindergarten through 6th grade, that's a long time to build relationships. That's a long time to really invest in a program. And yeah, so I think schools are all at different levels, but if you don't see a strong program where you are, get involved. There's nothing principals want more than is family involvement. Families to, again, just like kids need agency in a classroom, the families need agency. The families need a place that their voice is heard, that they can help with the decision making. So it's very, very welcome.
And each classroom becomes their own little community. Sometimes the parents kind of get together at the end of the day and they might have a conversation about, what's going on with your child or how things going. and they can, piggyback off of each other. And just like Glenn said, some schools already have their own parent clubs or organizations. So definitely, I would definitely say get involved in your school, see what's going on, voice your opinion. We like to hear what parents have to say and their families. And like the last school that I was teaching at, we did something called a literacy night. So at the end of the school year or the beginning of the school year, we would have a big fair where parents can come and look at books that they might want to purchase. And then they could also get little packs of academic lessons or games to play with kids, because sometimes parents just don't know what to do. And this gives you an opportunity to talk to your child's teacher and see, how can I develop certain skills? Because, when they first come to kindergarten, they might not know how to write their name, but that teacher might give you the tools and different activities to help your child learn how to spell and write their name. So definitely get involved. I would say that's the number one thing.
And I want to add to both what Glenn and Kimberly have said. It's very, very important to have a voice. I'm going to go back to when I was actually a principal in a building. We're very fortunate that in all of our buildings, we have health centers. And our health center serviced entire families of all ages, from birth all the way up to 120. But the neat thing is there was a group of parents that came to me and said, we've noticed when you have days that provide our children and our families certain services. It might be eye testing day or dental day, or, things like that we were able to screen or help all the children. We had a difficult time with that organization. Well, this group of family members came together, and as a principal and teachers, we just kind of sat back and they ran the show. It was, where the kids should stand and helping, even on spring photo day or something like that. If you have anything you're interested in, we had parents that had hidden talents we didn't even know about that came and they were like, I would like to share that I'm able to play the banjo. I'm just throwing something out there. But then we were able to connect them with classrooms or our music teacher or our art teacher, and they were able to share their talents, which is very impressive, especially to the child that is their parent, that other kids are like, wow, your parent could do that. That was so neat. So we don't want parents to be shy. We want them to let us know. And it's okay to say, I'm not agreeing with this, or, giving constructive criticism to make things better, because our ultimate goal is to improve and continue to improve for our children and for our families.
That's very encouraging to hear that you guys welcome parent engagement and parent feedback. So if your child is at a school and you're not sure whether or not they have any type of parent engagement groups, reach out to the principal. Maybe you'll start that group.
Or the resource coordinator.
Thank you.
Yes.
An additional question popped up in the chat in terms of mentorship programming for students. Is there a such thing within the district? And if so, at what grade levels?
I'll have to get back with you on specific grade levels. I do know there's mentorships that, and I'm trying to understand the question. Are they meaning from someone on the outside who's mentoring children within the schools?
I'm not
or
sure.
within the schools?
What do you have available? Tell us what you have available. She said within the school.
Okay, so within the schools, I know that many, if not all schools, use the buddy system. So like with the kindergartners, they might have a second or third grade buddy or a fourth grade buddy. I should actually let Kim and Glenn speak a little bit more on this. So Kim, you want to take it away?
Oh, yeah, yeah. So yeah, some of the schools do have buddies. So I think it's sixth grade. Some schools do
Yes.
like middle school if they're getting ready to start going to transition to their high school. So the oldest grade in the school would buddy up with the kindergartner. So, they kind of help them to understand, riding a bus, because riding a bus is so scary. And so they'll just try to walk the child, through what's going to happen when you get ready to ride the bus. Um, Other things like going in the lunchroom, that can be kind of scary too. So I would sometimes let the buddy go through the lunch line with the kids so they can understand, it's not scary. You get your milk, you get your lunch, and you go and have a seat. So yeah, some schools do that. I think most of them do actually. But as far as the mentoring program, as far as a community or a club, the only ones I can think of are kind of in the older grades. They wait till they get a little bit older so they can understand the mentorships.
But there is a very strong program called the Men of More,
Yeah.
which is in all of our schools or most of our schools. And the boys all wear ties one day a week and these great outfits. And they will help being like crossing guards, again, like Kimberly said, help kids get to the bus, help the younger kids move around the building. So that is a district-wide program that's really good. And like my last building, we would have our sixth grade come in once a week and pair up 1-to-1 with the kindergartners and read, and the kindergartners love it because the big kid's paying attention. The big kids love it because they've got a little kid that wants all this love. So there are programs, all over.
Oh, and I forgot about the girls one. There is a girls to women group as well.
Yeah, girls with pearls, I think.
Girls with pearls too. So you just have to kind of check with your school to see what they're offering.
And I don't want to forget our community partnerships. For instance, I know the church that I participate with, we partner with JP Parker. And so, members, we do different things that are upon the request of the school. So that's mentoring, or maybe it's when we were able to going in to actually do tutoring. And when we say tutoring, we're not just talking about children that may be struggling, but also our gifted children. Or clubs. Community members will come in and do different clubs or different activities, because all of our schools have a primary focus of whether that's, and don't quote me on how I'm saying these, whether that's gardening or agriculture or, a different focus of study, expeditionary learning, Montessori, things like that. So there are mentorships and partners. A lot of the one-on-one mentorships occur probably when children start to get to be sixth grade and up.
And we do have relationships all around the city. I know we have a strong relationship with the University of Cincinnati, the Bearcat Buddy program.
Mhm.
They come into school and tutor. I know on the west side, there's a strong relationship with Elder, and high school kids will come in from Elder and work with our students. So all of these schools have those partnerships.
Great. We've heard gifted being brought up a couple of times. And one of the questions is, at what grade level are children tested for gifted?
That is second grade.
Second grade.
Is the first time that they are tested as gifted. There are other assessments that can be given to an individual child upon a parent request through the school psychologist, if a parent requests at earlier grades. But overall, across the board, the test is given at grade 2.
All right, thank you. Moving right along.
These are great questions, by the way.
Yes, they are. Let's talk more of the transitioning into kindergarten. Is kindergarten mandatory first and foremost?
Yes.
And
it's the best grade. It's the best grade. Absolutely.
Well, I'm a little biased. I feel like preschool is the best grade, but
Me too.
Yes. I didn't Not all buildings have preschool, but yes, kindergarten and preschool. I would be remiss if I didn't say them both. Yes.
Okay, and for Cincinnati Public Schools, is there a kindergarten fee or any school fees associated with kindergarten?
No, Cincinnati Public Schools is a public school system. There are student fees that are charged yearly, but there is a form that parents, a one-page form that parents fill out, and based on income, it can be waived. Also, if a child is in programs such as Project Connect or other programs like that, then all those fees are waived.
All right, good to know. And are there full day and half day options for kindergarten?
We are a full day programming. So all of our kindergarten classrooms are full day.
And how are schools or students assigned to a school in classroom?
Well, a student is assigned, a parent or a family member can either apply through the lottery. So we have just completed the lottery application process. So now those families are being notified if they've been accepted into one of the magnet programs. If a family chooses not to apply for the lottery, which majority of our parents do not, they prefer to go to their neighborhood school. And so they would call a school, or they could call down to customer care at Cincinnati Public Schools at the Educational Center on Burnett and give their street name, and they would let them know what their identified neighborhood school is. They can also go on the website and type in the address, and that would let you know what the neighborhood school is.
And what about transportation? Is transportation offered?
Transportation is provided to all of our students that live a mile or more from their neighborhood school.
And is transportation free, or is there a fee for that as well?
It is free.
Moving right along, what distinguishes your kindergarten program from other kindergarten programs?
We're just the best. I would have to say what distinguishes our kindergarten classrooms is first of all, the caring environment of the community within each of our schools. We have fantastic staff and they're caring, but also along with that, we have very high standards for academics. We spend and invest a lot of time in training of our kindergarten on-up staff to ensure that they are the most knowledgeable of how to teach and instruct and provide an environment for all children to be successful. No matter where a child's strength or a child area of needing of improvement, they provide that on an individual basis. Along with teaching collaboration and preparing a child for what we call the 3 E's. When a child starts in preschool and then moves to kindergarten, we all are, and I mean all, meaning all of us, we are the foundation for that child all the way through 12th grade. And when they hit 12th grade, their educational life is not ending. We are helping them and assisting them to either enroll, enlist, or be employed. So that begins with all of us at age 3 and 4, and then definitely begins as a school age kindergartner.
And I'll add on to that a little bit. I think one of the things that is really important and we just did a training on this past week is vertical planning, which means the pre-K teachers, the preschool teachers talk to the kindergarten teachers. Kindergarten talks to first grade, so that every teacher knows what the expectations where the child came from and then what the future expectations are. So that as we are teaching in kindergarten, in the back of our mind, we know what is required for first grade and second grade on, so that we can be building for that additional rigor that's going to come at the higher grade.
Great. Someone posed a question in regards to transitioning. If a student has transition challenges, are they able to assist in any way with helping that student to transition into kindergarten?
Yes. Are they talking about the person who's with the child now?
Correct.
Yes. We have many providers or family members that work with the school of where the child is going to actually help that child through that transition into a school age. That would be what we call a transition plan that would be worked out at that school with the teacher and support staff with the provider or the family member.
And many schools have like a kindergarten open house prior to the school year starting, so the child can come in and meet the teacher, kind of get a feel for the classroom. And last school I was at, we did a 2-day getting ready for kindergarten thing where the incoming kindergartners were the only people in the building, so they figured out where the cafeteria was without seeing the big scary big kids, and they really got comfortable. They found out where their cubby is. I mean, that is so important, is like that's their space, like just finding your cubby and having your little home base is so important.
And
it gives the parents a sense of it makes the parents feel better too, knowing what to expect. The kids get to see the classroom, they get to walk through the building, they get to see the playground. At our school, we used to let the kids and the parents ride the bus, because the parents, that was the number one thing they wanted to know. What is the experience like on the school bus? So we would let them get on the bus, drive around the parking lot, and they could see, how things are. And they could talk to the bus drivers, and the bus drivers would let them understand, how the bus ride is ran, the expectations of waiting for the school bus. So each school kind of does it differently, but it's pretty much the same. So be on the lookout for kindergarten orientation. That's what we used to call our kindergarten camp.
All right, thank you for that. Maybe another challenging question, but a very important question. How did COVID-19 impact students in kindergarten last year within your school district? And have things changed for preparation for this coming year with the new kindergartens coming in?
Well, as we all know, COVID did have an impact on all of us, and especially our youngest learners. Our kindergartners have been in a blended model. We are very pleased to say that our board decided last evening that as of March 31st, we will be going back 5 days a week with all the safety protocols in place. So we are excited that our kindergarten all the way through 12th grade students are going to be given an opportunity to experience school again. Will it be like we remembered school? No, but at least it will be an experience where they will be able to engage and have that learning experience. We've been very fortunate that even when we have been blended, which meant the children at least came to school 2 days a week, our kindergarten children, that they were able to have supports like our social workers or other support services within the schoolhouse that have helped them in partnerships with different programs or community members, that they've had those supports to be able to work through and talk about, why do we wear a mask? Why, I want to sit next to my friend. Why do we have to stay distancing? So we've had that opportunity to help our children process through those different situations. And when we come back, we will continue to practice those protocols, but it will be nice that they all will be a complete unit instead of just half of the class and then half of the class.
Yes, so that's really good to hear that you guys are continuing to practice the CDC guidelines, ensuring to also explain to the children, the students, the importance of following these guidelines, as well as getting them back in the classroom. Because I tell you from my own personal experience, they're not getting it from home. With that being said, returning back to the classroom 5 days a week, what's the ratio, the adult-child ratio there?
That is dependent on the classroom for the enrollment, because it's based on the square footage, based on the 6-foot distancing. So I don't know if I can give you an exact ratio because it would be different for each classroom. Does that make sense? But in a regular non-COVID situation, our ratio is 1 to 18 students. And then when the 19th kindergarten student enters the room, then we add a paraprofessional or a teacher assistant, but a paraprofessional to the classroom. So we keep the ratios small because we want our children to have the opportunity. Kindergarten classrooms can go up to 25 with a teacher and a paraprofessional.
I did just see something pop through the chat where, yes, Cincinnati Public is offering still a remote option through the Digital Academy. So no parents will not be penalized if they're not comfortable being face-to-face.
This is true.
Great. So in terms of in-classroom learning, how does the district support different styles of learning and needs?
So really, this is where our primary, pre-K through 3rd grade educators are so awesome, because I'm in over 100 classrooms supporting teachers, and I see, and this is where I really get excited, you see teachers teaching using multiple methods, right? You don't just learn by listening, you learn by touching and feeling and grabbing and moving and asking questions. So concepts are not just taught one way. And teachers find out really quick, which is why our small group and individual instruction is so important. When you go into one of our kindergarten classrooms, it's most of the time is not going to be kids sitting in rows doing worksheets. They are moving and learning, and the teacher may have a group of 3 or 4 that she's really honing in on. Kids who may have this specific, they maybe are still working on the same couple letters. So she or he will gear an activity that has a tactile, like a touch aspect, and then she'll bring in some items from home that start with that sound of the letter. So our teachers are so inventive, and it's not all call and response, it is engaging. And I think that's how we get all of our varied learners to learn, is through that engagement and excitement about learning.
Awesome.
And I was just going to add, we want our kids to use their higher order of thinking. We're really training our students to think outside of the box, use your creativity. Whatever classroom you go into, you're going to see some creativity going on. So we really want our students to be independent and creative thinkers.
Speaking of creativity, how is technology used to support teaching and or student learning in school?
Well, every child has an iPad, right? So I think all of our littles can use an iPad now. But in the normal world before COVID, technology was incorporated. Most schools, I think all of them, had a computer class that the kids would go to, and they would learn about all the different parts of a computer, how to log in. Some parents thought it was so scary to, just imagine that their little kindergarten or preschooler could log themselves in on the computer, but who knew? So they get that kind of training. And then learning how to use the computer also helps them to learn other skills like the alphabet or their numbers or how to find different things on the computer. So technology is used in every subject.
And now we're using it even more for, I've seen some amazing virtual field trips. Since we can't go on field trips right now, these teachers are taking the kids all around the world to learn about these fantastic things they're learning about. It's used for some of our music partners can't come in yet, so they're creating videos for us or doing live videos for us on, using the technology. So again, our teachers and staff are just very resourceful and very inventive. In the real world, and once we get back to normalcy, you don't want to use too much technology because, kids, in the best case, you're face to face, you're learning from each other, learning through interactions. But technology is certainly a tool that we use and we're learning to use really well.
And I do want to say we have a platform. All of our, as Kimberly said, all our preschool through grade 1 students have a 1-to-1 iPad. Our 2nd through 12th grade students have their own devices also. But for the adopted curriculum is called Wit and Wisdom, and there are some wonderful items or academics through the technology that our teachers can enhance their daily lessons. So it gives a child a well-rounded experience through that technology. We use platforms where we have Google Meet, so our teachers are working with their kindergarten and first grade students when it's distance learning, using the iPad for that engagement as much as you can have through a screen. But they are also using it to enhance to follow up on their lessons to give children more practice in the academic areas.
And we also, as far for family engagement, we use a system district-wide that gets weekly feedback from families. And so we can always know the pulse of where our families are and what's working. So that's been a really exciting thing that we're able to do.
Speaking of families and where they are, they want to know how much homework will be assigned to their kindergartner.
That depends on the school. Okay, I will be honest on that one. Kimberly, do you wish to address that since you were kindergarten teacher?
I would say I would also agree. It depends on the school. But, I'm telling you, it's so surprising because parents will always say, well, when are you going to give my child some homework? So it depends on the child. Depends on the child, the teacher, and the school. And so I would always tell my parents, if you are attending a school that does not agree with homework for a kindergartner, you got to take your own initiative and ask your teacher, what does my child need more help on? So that can be one way, but we definitely don't want to see a kindergartner going home with 3 or 4 pages of homework. That's just inappropriate. Homework is designed to be practice of a skill that they need practice on. It's not designed to be punishment or anything like that. And if a teacher gives homework to a kindergartner, if they're 5 years old, that homework should take them 5 minutes to do.
Yes.
If you are struggling to do that work, nobody's struggling but you, the parent. If it's taking you a long time or your child a long time to do it, then it's not worth it. You've already lost it.
Yeah, and I'm a very firm believer in the best homework we can have is reading with our kids every night.
Excellent.
Spending time in the kitchen cooking together. Those experiences are going to give us so much more than a worksheet ever will. So nothing wrong with an occasional worksheet, maybe. But, I think, we get so much more through, if I could just put on anybody, read a story every night with your child and really interact, look at the pictures and ask your child what they think is going on and, really get immersed in there's so much good early literature out there right now.
Great.
And that is so important
to our ears, especially if we're doing remote learning now with little people. Yes. So thank you. Thank you. Read to your children. Yes. And if you're struggling, it takes you more than 5 minutes for a 5-year-old, wrap it up. All right. There's a question that came in regarding specialized programs. I think Vera might have mentioned it once or twice. The person wants to know, how do we apply for a specialized program?
Well, first of all, Cincinnati Public Schools has the full continuum of services for specialized programs. Whether it's a child with special needs or an English language learner or a gifted child, we have, or just the whole realm, we offer all the services. If you are suspecting that a child has a disability, we ask that you reach out to Student Services at the district level, which is located on Burnett Avenue, and they will assist you through the process to have the child assessed. Unless the child has already been assessed through, say, like Children's Hospital or another organization, then we then come together as a team and look at the evidence and then create or go whatever direction is what is best, or a team decision for that child. And what I can do, Brittany, is I can get you the flow chart of the process that you can then pass along to individuals.
All right, sounds good. Moving on, or back to, I guess, how are parents kept informed of school information and activities? So maybe they're not engaged in any of those community organizations or programs or committees that are going on at individual schools. But if they just want to, stay abreast of what's happening, how is that done?
So starting at the classroom level, I would expect either a weekly or a monthly newsletter of some sort to let the families know what's going on. Most buildings the principal will send out a weekly or every 2 week or 2 week email and or robocall, to all the families to let them know what's going on, the news of the school for the week. On the district level, the CPS website keeps you up to date on everything that's going on the district. But, really the schools do a good job of communicating grade level newsletters, and then also building wide, like if there's a open house coming up, or, when parent teacher conferences are, all that information should be, and also on the school, each school has their own individual website. So hopefully that information is readily available and easy to get.
And I'll add to that, this year, it's been fun to watch the creativity of each school, because there's certain principals that do daily videos that last just a few minutes that they then send out to all their families, that have like the character word of the week and whose birthday it is, and building that culture of community. As Glenn said, every school does have their own website if you type in Cincinnati Public Schools, go to schools, you can check out every school, and they post things there. They also do what we call robocalls. So if there's anything that's going to occur at the school level, they have the ability to send out a text or a robocall. But the district also does robocalls, like on the 4 whole days we had snow, that we all got robocalls. So there's a variety of ways that different schools communicate with their families, and it's based primarily on they have spoken to their families to say what is the best way to communicate with you, to keep them informed.
Great. Good to know that mobile devices and communication is happening because that's what's popular and
And also just one more, sorry to interrupt, but we also do have interpretation services for if you have a family that speaks a different language, we have interpreters for pretty much any language that is spoken in the Cincinnati area. We will have somebody that can come in and make that family feel at home when they're working with the teacher, trying to have a conversation with the teacher.
awesome. Great. So we don't want to leave anyone out in terms of understanding communications that are going out. So it's good to know that interpreters are available. How are schools informed of the need for interpreters?
Um, how are the schools informed, or how are the parent, and can you clarify that question a little bit?
So if I speak French and I can only speak and read French, how does the school know to send the communication to me in French?
When a child enrolls, that is one of our questions. What is the home language? And then that is information is provided to the school. Our teachers are amazing that they get to know their families. So they know, even though the child may be an English speaker, if the mother or father, grandparents do not speak English or very limited English, they know then that they can request interpreters for meetings, or we even have services through a phone system that if a teacher just needs to call a parent that night, that they can get an interpreter on the phone that will help them with those services. A parent or family member can also request through the office for interpreting services.
Great, great.
And we also have the ability to translate documents as well. So we can do interpreters for speaking, but also any documents. It takes a few days, there's a little turnaround time, but we can get all of our documents translated.
Good, good. So all forms of communication can be translated. That's awesome and great to know. Time is wrapping up. So really quickly, if you could just share, when does enrollment start for kindergarten and how do I enroll?
I am ready for that question. We are enrolling now for next year. Please reach out. You can either enroll your kindergarten child by going to the Cincinnati Public Schools website, and then you can enroll online. You can also call Cincinnati Public Schools 363-0000 and talk to customer care. Or if you have any questions, please feel free to call 363-0017, and we will connect you to the appropriate person to answer any of your kindergarten questions or assist you with enrolling. We are enrolling kindergartners currently for next school year. So please, we are really encouraging people to enroll now, because that assists, because when we then roll everything over into the next year, enrolling now will ensure that your child will have transportation and all other services in place the first day of school.
Great. So enrollment is starting now.
Yes.
Thank you all for joining us for Cincinnati Preschool Promise Chat. Please join us back here on Thursday, March 25th at 6 p.m. To talk more about vaccines and me. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you, Brittany. Thank you, Preschool.